Hello, it's Marni Penner, and in this video I'm going to explain why exposure therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy did not work to help me overcome my social anxiety, and how it was in fact an emotion-based approach, similar to the approach that Dr. Nash found in the movie The Beautiful Mind, that ended up working for me. When I was 21 years old, what seemed like overnight, I was terrified of everyone. I was terrified of my best friends, my family members, my teachers, the other students, absolutely everyone. And exposure therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy did not work for me, and medication didn't either. And so in this video, I'm going to explain what social anxiety feels like, and why exposure therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy did not work for me, and why it was an emotion-based approach that I needed to find in order to truly be able to feel calm, present, and confident in social situations. So first of all, let's look at what social anxiety is. So when we're feeling social anxiety, what's actually happening is in our limbic brain, in the middle of our brain, we're feeling a negative emotion. This emotion is usually shame, or shame can morph into fear, okay? And what we also notice when we have social anxiety is we've got tons and tons of cognitive clutter in our cognitive brain. We have tons and tons of like intrusive thoughts, all kinds of thoughts, worries and that kind of thing. And so what exposure therapy says is they say, if you just go out and expose yourself to all these situations with people, then automatically you'll get some shifts in your limbic brain and in your cognitive brain, and you'll start feeling just great, right? Now, sometimes that works, but it's assuming that the inner processes are going to occur that are going to enable us to get rid of those painful negative emotions and to get rid of all those clutter of thoughts, right? So it's assuming that these inner processes is going to help without helping us with the inner processes themselves. And so this approach did not work for me. I had severe social anxiety, like exposing myself to people was not going to help. So I also tried cognitive behavioral therapy. And so what they say in cognitive behavioral therapy is that if we analyze our thoughts, then it will take away the negative emotions in our limbic brain as well, and then we'll feel just fine. Now, this actually did work before social situations, when I had a piece of paper and a pen, and I could analyze my thoughts, and that did make me feel better. And after social situations, I could analyze my thoughts, and I would find like I was saying things like, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have, and I could analyze that and I could feel better. But inside the social situation where social anxiety actually occurs, cognitive behavioral therapy didn't help me at all, because in order to have a conversation with someone, it takes up a huge proportion of your brain. So here I was having these negative emotions in my limbic brain, this clutter of thoughts in my cognitive brain, and I had to spend almost all of my brain trying to have a conversation. And then here I am supposed to be analyzing my thoughts when I had so many of these painful thoughts and they were all over the place, and I was supposed to have a conversation at the same time. Like, there was no way in hell that this was going to work for me. And so I realized that I was not going to find the solution by going to therapy and just staying in my Canadian environment. Like, I just felt that I wasn't going to be able to get over this. And so I bought an impulse ticket to Hungary to learn Hungarian. I just wanted to shake myself up and see if I could find something that worked. And I lived in a student residence with 3 students to a room, like, completely out of this world experience. And I met a Hungarian friend who could help me. And this is how he helped me. And this was the basis of the emotional approach that ended up helping me to overcome this crippling severe social anxiety and every single social anxiety I've had after that. what I realized was the negative emotion in our limbic brain that almost always causes social anxiety is shame. And shame is an emotion that we're not talking about enough in mainstream psychology and psychiatry and mainstream society in general. But the thing is, this primary emotion of shame can then morph into fear, indifference, resentment, and it morphs into the secondary emotions of anxiety, depression, anger. So it is the primary emotion in our limbic brain that is causing social anxiety in the first place. And what I realized was that it is possible to free ourselves from shame. At least about 90% of it. Like the most painful, toxic shame that is causing our social anxiety, it is possible to free ourselves from this. And so with my first crippling social anxiety, it was my friend in Hungary who helped me free myself from this shame without me realizing what shame was. And for my subsequent social anxieties, it was the fact that I was already an anxiety and depression coach for mothers and had researched shame in order to help my mother clients, that I was able to apply techniques directly to myself in order to free myself from the shames of all my residual social anxieties. And so the first step in overcoming social anxiety is to identify what is the shame that is causing this social anxiety. Is it about my appearance, my personality, my voice, my ethnicity, my sexuality? Is it about my social anxiety symptoms themselves? Is it about how delayed I am in life because of my social anxiety? Like, what are all the different shames that is causing me to feel socially anxious? And to realize that although these feel like these are flaws that you could never overcome, that shame is actually a societal problem and it's not being talked about enough, and that it is possible to overcome it. And so how do we free ourselves from shame? Well, the first way is to find the right connection. With my social anxiety in my 20s, I finally found someone who could help me. He was a Hungarian man, and he had a very similar personality type to me. And I dared to force myself to be truly honest with him and tell him the secrets that I had told nobody. Why I felt that I was so flawed, not good enough. Why I didn't live up to any of the ways, I was supposed to be behaving or how I was supposed to be. And every single time that I revealed one of my secrets, he helped me feel less alone. He told me how he had also had a similar experience, or that someone he knew had had a similar experience. And I then felt less alone, I felt less shame, and that was my first step of recovery. Now, with my social anxiety with men, no matter how honest I tried to be with people, I wasn't able to free myself from my body image shame that was causing my social anxiety with men. And so finally, when I was 40 years old and I was also already an anxiety and depression coach, I told myself, I was like, Marni, you are now a shame expert. Why can't you free yourself from this shame? And so I used a different technique. I used the technique of compassion. I knew from Brené Brown that 90% of women have shame about their appearance. So what I did is I went downtown for about a week. I kept going into the city and I looked at every single woman I saw and I asked myself, is she beautiful? Could a man love her? And the answer was almost always yes. So by looking at all these women, having true compassion for them, then I started having compassion for myself. I was like, well, maybe I'm beautiful too. Maybe all women are beautiful. And I was able to free myself from my body image shame. So freeing ourselves from shame means finding the right connection, but it also means finding the right perspective. That shame is not an individual problem, it's a societal problem, and it is possible to overcome it. Okay, so now we've gotten to the state where your shame has been reduced by about 90%, and you only have kind of that residual 10% shame. So what do we do now in this emotion-based solution to social anxiety? Well, what I found was that honesty with ourselves and honesty with others is super, super powerful in helping us get over social anxiety. And this is why. So what honesty does is it simplifies our cognitive brain. Okay, so by being honest with ourselves and being honest with others, we have much less thoughts and clutter in our brain, right? Like dishonesty requires a whole lot of mental activity, performing, trying to be someone we're not, and anything that is not completely and utterly honest. And so by being honest with ourselves and by being honest with others, now honesty can differ based on the situation. So if you're with a friend, it might mean being truly honest about what you're really feeling in that moment. But if you're at work, it could just mean being honest that you're not having a great day, right? Not putting on a fake smile and you know what I mean? Like it depends on the situation, but often it also means being honest with ourselves. And so what this does is it simplifies our cognitive brain, but it does something else in the limbic brain. So what honesty does is it prevents shame from coming back. It prevents new shames from coming in, and it just keeps shame at the lowest possible level possible. Because when we're being secretive about things, we assume that maybe there's something we have to be ashamed of. But when we're being honest about things, then there's no room for shame to come into the picture, right? So honesty is super important in both simplifying our cognitive brain and by preventing shame from coming into our limbic brain. But there was one more thing I needed to do in order to truly be able to feel strong, calm, and confident in social situations. And what that was that it's not enough to have reduced shame to about 10%. We have to introduce a positive emotion that overpowers even this 10% of shame that's remaining. See, the thing that is really important to realize is that we're only able to feel one emotion at one moment in time. So by learning how to cultivate a strong positive emotion in the moment, we can overpower any negative emotion that wants to come in. And so I'm going to explain how I did this. So my social anxiety was so bad in my 20s. And because I had overcome about 90% of my shame, I realized that in fact, deep down, I actually love people. I had been feeling fear of people, but in reality, I realized that I love people, and I realized that love is the strongest emotion there is. It's stronger than fear, it's stronger than resentment, it's stronger than anger, stronger than resentment, and hatred. Love is the strongest emotion there is. And so what I did was I cultivated love, the emotion of love towards everyone I met. Right? I would go into the store and I would tell myself, love them. I'd meet with a friend, I'd say, love them. I'd meet with my teacher or other students. I was just loving absolutely everyone. Now you may be thinking, well, there's no way I could love people. Yes, but that is because you still have 100% of your shame there, right? Like we can only apply positive emotions if we've gotten rid of the bulk of the negative emotions, because we can only feel one emotion at one time, right? And so what the positive emotion of love, and there's other emotions too that I'll tell you about. So what it does is it then takes the place of any emotion, negative emotions that used to be there, and it helps you to feel strong, calm, courageous, and confident in the social situation. It helps you to be truly present with the person you're talking to and connect with people the way you want to connect with them, right? Now, other positive emotions that are stronger than this residual 10% shame are emotions like compassion. So with my social anxiety with other mothers, I felt true compassion towards all mothers. I saw how badly society was treating all mothers. And so I was able to feel compassion towards all mothers, even if they were judging me, criticizing me, performing for me, being really nasty. Like I was able to feel compassion for them anyways, right? Think of how powerful that is. But I was only able to feel that compassion because I'd freed myself from the bulk of my mother's shame. Now, other emotions that I have used and my clients have used are emotions like having fun, or taking back the power and feeling like an equal citizen, in the social situation. That's another one. I have had clients use the emotions like be bold, or be kind, be nice, be a good citizen. Get out of yourself and truly feel strong emotions for other people, right? And so it is this whole approach of freeing ourselves from about 90% of shame, using honesty to declutter our head and prevent shame from coming back, and cultivating a strong, positive emotion like love that can enable you to both get out of your cognitive brain, have positive emotions in your limbic brain, be truly present in the situation, feel strong, courageous, and confident, and connect with people the way that you want to connect with them. And what I also realized in the movie A Beautiful Mind, where he found the same solution as I did, love and honesty, was that we can accept the anxiety symptoms if ever they come for a visit. Because what I saw in A Beautiful Mind was that once he had realized this solution, this emotion-based solution of love and honesty, sometimes his hallucinations would come for a visit. That man and his niece, he would see them beside him, but he was able to just accept that the anxiety sometimes does come for a visit, but that as long as we are focusing on the solution, which is shame reduction, honesty, and positive emotions like love, then we can enable the anxiety symptoms to come for a visit and go, and come and go. And because we're not paying attention to them, they get weaker and weaker, and they fade away. So this is the gist of the emotion-based solution to social anxiety that I found when I was 26 years old in Hungary, and that I reinforced by all the research I did into becoming an anxiety and depression coach, and then was able to free myself from my residual social anxieties and then start helping others do the same. Let me know if you'd like to find out more about this emotion-based approach to overcoming social anxiety, or if you'd like to find out about my one-on-one coaching program where I can assist you in every step of the way and help you overcome your social anxiety and feel truly calm, confident, and present in any social situation. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.